Alright lads, so Bleach Resident officially releases later today. And with that, as starting any new game, you might be wondering what are the best characters Soul Resident has to offer. Well, in today's video, we're going to be breaking down all 17 characters, ranking them from best to worst. And to start off the list, we have the very first character you are going to get when you start Bleach Soul Resident, that being Ichigo, the initial version. We all have to start somewhere, and this character starts in the tier list in detail. Ultimately, this character serves as a stepping stone for you to start the game as you progress through the story and unlock better and more powerful characters. But the reason for his detail placement is simply because he's just a character that wants to deal damage. And that in of itself isn't really a bad thing, but due to the character's SR status and the fact that his stats aren't that high, he really doesn't much going for him besides dealing damage, and in the later parts of the game, as you progress through the story, that damage will start to fall off. However, due to the game's PvE nature and the fact that slash typing has actually some really good supports, if you're persistent enough, you can get a good use out of the character and use him where most players won't. But let's be honest, most of us will quickly be replacing this character once we unlock the better version of Ichigo, which of course is his Shikai version. Finally learning the name of Zangetsu, Shikai Ichigo is a perfectly capable unit despite his B tier status. Overall, compared to the initial version of Ichigo, this version provides more damage and also has a much better skill set when you take into account his technique skill and also his ultimate skill. Very similar to the initial version of Ichigo, they are both slash type full assault units, so they do take advantage of any potential slash type supports that this game does have to offer, which are some of the better supports in the game. And when built correctly, this character is capable of dealing some really good damage, especially when he does enter his power release state. And this is an enhanced version of the character once your spiritual pressure reaches 100. This allows him to use his skill technique once more, even if it is on cooldown, and then also makes him a range character, providing more damage, more range, and if you're lucky enough, you can double the damage from his range slashes with a 30% chance. He's an overall solid character, one of my favorite characters in the beta, but ultimately he's going to be a B tier unit mainly due to the fact that his double damage increase passive is strictly tied behind an RNG factor. There's no way to increase it, it's always going to be 30%, so sometimes you'll be dealing some really good damage, and then sometimes you'll just be dealing good damage. Now his Bankai version of course is going to be the next evolution for Ichigo, and this is going to be our first limited character on release. So that means he is going to be much rarer, but that also comes at significantly more power. Bankai Ichigo is easily going to be the best damage dealing character in the game for many reasons. For starters, the character itself has really good stats, but also a very good skill set. His skill technique includes a Getsuga Tensho, and then his ultimate has him transform into his visored form. And while in that visored state, he is able to use his Getsuga Tensho skill multiple times. And every time that skill lands, he's then able to follow up with an additional special attack. This allows him to deal very good damage in the brief 10 seconds that he is in his transform state. Once the transform state is done, Ichigo would then let off a very powerful ultimate death blow, which includes an even better, more powerful Getsuga Tensho. This character is all about spamming skills and has a really cool climatic attack. What's better about this character, however, of course, is once more the slash type full assault status. This means you can pair him with some of the best supports in the entire game, like SSR Kisuke and SSR Byakuya, making the best team in Bleach Soul Resonance. And it all works around making Ichigo deal as much damage as possible. And if that wasn't special enough, Ichigo also gets better the better you build it. And it's due to his one very unique passive where the more critical percentage that he does have, the more critical damage he gets. So you're actively rewarded for increasing this character's critical rate above 100%. No other character has that. Bankai Ichigo is easily one of the best characters in the game and is going to earn his spot at the top of SS tier. I have to give credit where credit is due because Bleach Soul Resident actually made Orihime playable, which might not mean much, but that is something that Bleach Rebirth of Souls did lack. Orihime in Soul Resident, however, is going to be a support type character as expected of a character like Orihime. And when used correctly, her role on the team is to simply supply your allies with damage bonuses and also protection. Her first skill provides all the allies on the team with a barrier, allowing them to absorb more damage upon taking hits. And then her ultimate will provide a similar effect, but this time also including a team heal. If you are struggling in content, she's going to be a really good character for their support capabilities. However, when we start to include her passive abilities, she also does become a damage booster. In this case, when Orihime switches into another character, that specific character will receive a 25% damage bonus and an 18% attack increase. So due to the damage bonuses that she can apply when switching into an ally, and the healing effects being pretty decent, it does make an overall solid B tier unit, with the potential of being a lot better once we do get more spirit type characters. Right now we have access to no spirit type character in the SSR rarity, but that will soon change after release with the SSR Bankai Toshiro. Uryu is up next and is going to be our first tactic unit. There are 3 type of characters in this game: Full Assault, which are DPS, Support, self-explanatory, provide effects for your main damage dealers, and then also tactic units. Now, tactic units are very special when it comes to team building because they do provide battlefield skills. Now, these skills serve as additional attacks that you can use while in-game, even if the character isn't being currently used on the field. But one of the best parts about the battlefield skills is that it does give a passive outright. And in the case for Uryu, he's going to be one of the best ones for that, as he is a very easily available SR unit, providing 15% more damage to every character in the game. This makes him a really good character early on and even late game, especially if you are building a Frost type team. Uryu is a character that really doesn't want to be used on field all the time. He wants to be in the backlines, constantly coming in and out when available, and sometimes even joining mid-combat with combo attacks. And every time he does provide a combo attack, it will further increase the character's crit rate and also crit damage. And when at max, if you fully use the battlefield skill, letting off a very powerful Quincy arrow attack, it's actually capable of doing some pretty good damage. He works very well with some of the better characters in the game, but the best part about Uryu is that he can be thrown onto any team to overall increase everyone's damage output by 15%. This is especially important if you are lacking crucial characters for certain teams. Now, in most cases, I can't imagine Chad ever losing, but in this case, I feel like that's all he actually does. Chad is a very weird unit, but I feel like has a lot of great potential that I'm maybe not entirely giving him credit for. But the main thing that we see with Chad as a character is that he's a high risk, high reward unit. The lower this character's HP is, the more damage he does deal. To be specific, under half HP, the character gains 30% critical rate and 60% critical damage. Unfortunately for Chad, built into the character's kit, especially when you do use your special technique attack, which you can use upon holding down the attack button, you will charge at the enemy, dealing damage but also taking damage himself, allowing him to get under that half HP threshold so he can get his damage bonuses. Additionally, when you do perform a perfect dodge, you do get 100 spiritual pressure, allowing you to once more use your special attack to further decrease your HP. Now, Chad also does have a very unique ultimate that can be seen as a good or a bad thing. His ultimate deals damage in front of him, pretty decent damage, however it does heal his HP by 30%. So depending on your current HP when using the ultimate, that can be a good or a bad thing. It does potentially allow you to heal yourself while also staying under half HP, but in some cases it might take you above half HP, where you're then going to have to use your special attack to further decrease your HP. Overall, Chad is a character with some potential, but a character that I feel like isn't going to be seen used all that much. Kisuke Urahara is a very simple yet effective character and is going to join Ichigo in SS tier as one of the best supports in the game that in all honesty you can put and might want to put in every single team. So Kisuke is a character where every time he uses a special attack, technique, ultimate, or counter attack, he will apply one stack of ratio analysis for the entire team. What this does mean is that he is giving your entire team a 10% attack boost for 15 seconds. This can stack up to 3 times, providing a very easy 30% attack boost, which can also get further increased by pulling the character's weapon, which can go up to 60%. So that in of itself is a very easy and really good damage bonus to keep on at all times. But with that, Kisuke's first skill also does distract the enemies, allowing you to easily switch into another character and take advantage of the 5 seconds where the enemy is distracted. And then Kisuke's ultimate also does provide more damage bonuses, as he will provide a critical damage boost for your entire team. So Kisuke, like already mentioned, is a very simple character. Every time you use a special attack, skill, ultimate, you do gain damage bonuses for your entire team. Really good damage bonuses too, and it makes it even better given his slash typing, as he pairs once more very well with SSR Byakuya and also SSR Bankai Ichigo. Kisuke is a character that you can really use in all different types of teams, but of course fits in right at home in a mono slash type team. Ururu to me is one of those characters that I'm very surprised to see playable, but definitely a welcomed addition. Unfortunately though, Ururu I don't think is that great of a unit. Might get better long term if we do receive more spirit type characters, because Ururu is a spirit type full assault unit with no real good team to be used alongside her. You might get some usage out of her in the future if you do eventually like Bankai Toshiro, again a future SSR spirit type unit, but essentially Ururu is all about inflicting burn on the enemies, So as she does attack the enemy, she will be building up a spiritual pressure reserve, and once that counter does hit 10, she will then become a really cool unit as she backs up and enters her weapon bazooka modes, firing a bunch of missiles on the enemies, dealing some pretty decent damage, inflicting burn, which can also then lower the enemy's movement speed and also their attack speeds. Upon using her ultimate, it does give you guaranteed 10 SP reserve, so you can instantly go back into your cannon modes. So she has a very simple gameplay. If you want to build it in a team with Orihime and also Rukia, I guess you can do that on launch, but there's going to be significantly better teams available. So because of that, C tier I think right now is the best I can give to her. Ikkaku was up next as one of our few available SSR characters on launch. Ikkaku is overall a very solid, strong DPS unit to be used in thrust type teams. This character is best used in content where there are multiple enemies, because the more enemies surrounding him, the more damage he is able to deal. Additionally, if enemies start to fall very quickly, the character itself also then does deal more damage the more enemies he does defeat. So this allows him to be a very strong character in multiple different types of content. However, this does mean that he does suffer a little bit in boss stages where there is only one available enemy. Nonetheless, though, his damage isn't strictly tied behind that, especially when he does activate his Bankai, which is seen through his ultimate skill. Because activating the ultimate allows him to transform it into his Bankai, and just like in the anime, takes a little bit of time to warm up. While in this Bankai state though, he does actually increase his critical damage by quite a lot, upwards to 70%, while also allowing him to have a special effect where he can't be killed while in his Bankai state, making it a very good defensive ability alongside offensive when up against a very powerful enemy. Overall, just a really strong unit with a lot of range and works very well with another great character, that being SSR Kaname. Renji is going to join the cast of characters that are very awkward to play, and I'm not really sure exactly what this character wants to do. Well, what the character wants to do is constantly attack the enemy to build up his spiritual pressure, where then upon using a special attack, you can inflict lacery against the enemy, which will then deal 300% damage of his attack stat, which for an SR really isn't that high. So because of that, the character itself isn't really anything crazy, especially as a full assault unit, as his main goal here is to deal damage. There are definitely plenty of better thrust type damage dealers, especially in the SSR category, which is going to make this character never really be seen. So because of that, he's going to join Chad in a very similar situation in C tier. Yachiru is one of my favorite additions to So Resonant, especially because of how the character does play, which is perfectly in line with Yachiru as a character. So Yachiru is a slash type support unit, buffing some of the better characters in the game, like again SSR Bankai Ichigo. And the way this character works is that every time she does use a technique, a counterattack, or an ultimate, and you switch out into another character within 3 seconds, she enters spectating mode, where you actually just see her on the field, watching over the battle. While in this mode, she will provide the entire team with additional attack stat, upwards to 20%, and while in spectate mode, she doesn't have to be used because every attack that you do with the character on field will be building up Yachiru's ultimate attack. Upon using the ultimate attack, she will then increase your team's slash damage by 10%, which can be increased further if they already have an inspiration buff, which you can get once the ultimate charge hits 100%. So you're basically getting 20% more slash damage and 20% attack, which is really good for an SR character and can be used in perfect combination with some of the better characters in the game. She fits more so in a mono slash type team, but can be used in other teams just for that 20% attack boost. And the great part too is that Yachiru is a completely free unit that you can get for logging into the game. Byakuya is a crucial piece to one of the best teams in Bleach Soul Resonance, in this case a mono slash type team. With this character in the team paired with other slash type units, he will activate his battlefield skill passive, which will give everyone in the team 30% more slash type damage, which is a really good buff just for having him on the team. But it gets even better in gameplay because this character is all about being used in combination with other characters. For starters, if you use this character's special skill, it will activate a very long animation, which gives you perfect time to switch into another character and in a way perform a combo attack. But once this character has been switched off the field, in combination with character skill techniques, he'll be able to use his battlefield attack, which will just deal additional damage and can be used upwards to 6 times, and each time increases the damage that each battlefield attack does deal. It also lowers slash resistance, letting Ichigo, some of the other better slash type characters in the game, deal more damage. And then you can finish that up with an additional powerful attack once the battlefield attacks have been used around 6 times. overall great tactical unit to throw into your team, especially mono/type teams. So with that, easily deserving S tier. But at the same time, if your plan is to build a /type team, he might even be considered an SS tier unit because of that really good passive buff. Sajin is a very similar character to Byakuya, with the context that you want to build him in strike type teams. Once more, by using this character in your team, you are giving every strike character 30% more strike damage. That's really good for strike-focused teams, which right now doesn't really have that many options. Additionally, with that, Sajin is also a very defensive-focused unit, where by using this character's skill technique, he does provide a barrier shield for the entire team, letting them absorb more damage upon taking hits. However, due to his passive, it does come with an additional effect, where any shielded unit does get an 18% critical rate increase, which is really good. Other than that, similar to Byakuya, he does have a battlefield attack, which he can use to deal damage, and once it's fully charged, he does actually enter his Bankai, which is actually very fun, by the way. It's one of the coolest specials in the game. It increases his damage. It also means he can't die while in Bankai, and if you use the battlefield skill while in the Bankai, you let off a very cool finishing attack. Damage output is good. Support abilities are decent at best. The critical rate increase is nice, the defense increase is okay, but most of the time you are just focusing on increasing your character's damage output and clearing as fast as possible. If content does need more defensive units like this, he will get better over time, and that can also be said when more strike-focused characters come into the game. Because if you're not using Yoruichi, Sajin really doesn't have much usability outside of his defensive capabilities. So due to that, he's going to be placed in A tier, with the potential chance of getting higher over time. Continuing on with more tactical type units, next up we have Kaname. Kaname is going to be a very powerful character that doubles down as a damage dealer while also being a tactical unit. For starters, very similar to Byakuya and also Sajin, by having this character in the team, he does provide the entire team with 30% more thrust type damage, making him a must-have when using characters like Uryu and also Ikkaku. Now, if that wasn't all, the way Kaname does work is that he wants to inflict wounds, which otherwise you can call it bleeds. Every attack that this character does deal, his normal attack, his counter attack, special attack, skill technique, and also ultimate, can inflict multiple stacks of bleed, and the more stacks that he does have, the more damage he deals. If that wasn't all, each stack also increases his critical rate upwards to 24%, which for the amount of times this character can inflict bleed or wounds, he's pretty much always going to be getting that 24% critical rate bonus. But due to the amount of wound stacks that he can inflict on the enemies, especially bosses, it's actually allowing him to deal really insane levels of damage. Kaname more so focuses on single target damage against bosses, for example, which in a way allows Kaname and also Ikkaku to work very well together, where Ikkaku wants to be used against multiple enemies, but Kaname wants to be used against single target enemies. Of course, though, both of them can be used in other situations. But due to Kaname's insane bleed damage or wound damage, it allows him to be a very powerful DPS, while also doubling down as a must-have unit for thrust-focused teams. So due to that, he's also going to be joining SS tier alongside some of the better characters in the game, like SSR Ichigo and also Kisuke. Nemu is an SR support strike unit designed to be used alongside Sajin and also Yoruichi to make those characters deal more damage. However, the way they designed Nemu is cool, but, and it's a big but, I feel like you have to keep track of too many things. Granted, maybe I didn't play with the character that much. But Nemu has two different modes of attacking, upper and also lower. Depending on the mode that she is in, she will provide additional buffs to the team. If she's in lower, she'll give 100 more attack, which isn't that high. And then if she's in the lower mode, she will decrease damage taken by 10%. Which is pretty decent, but again, the buffs that you are getting here between these two modes aren't really that noteworthy. The only real noteworthy buff that you can get is when you use her ultimate, which provides a 7.5% strike damage buff to your entire team. It can be doubled if you are in full body mode, which you can do when you activate both lower and upper at the same time. But due to the mode switching that she does have and the lack of substantial buffs, it makes her worse than what she honestly could have been for an SR support, especially for a team that really does need it. Overall, the main thing that you are going to get here is a 50% strike damage buff, which is good, again, if you are using a strike-focused team with Sajin and also Yoruichi. Other than that, if you're not, she's not really going to provide much on your team, so due to that, I think B tier is the highest I can possibly put her. Next up, it's finally time for Rukia to shine. In this case, Rukia is a really good character for a lot of different teams. In a way, she's very similar to Uryu as a tactic unit that can be used to buff everyone's damage output. So having this character in your team provides 50% all type damage. It's good if you're not building mono, focus, slash, strike, spirit, or thrust type teams. But alongside that, Rukia is a character designed to do battlefield skill damage. Her battlefield skill allows you to use it multiple times when she isn't on field, and if you use it after 3 times, it does let off an even better attack that can actually freeze the enemy and let you deal more damage. The main thing about Rukia's battlefield skill though is that when she does enter chill state, it does decrease the damage you take by 22%, this is for your entire team, while also recovering the HP by around 3% per second. So she's more so a defensive support while also increasing everyone's damage output. If you are going against content where you need that heal, you need that decreased damage taken, while also getting that 15% bonus damage for having her in the team, she's going to be a really good character to have. Like I said, she's very similar to Uryu, this time just offering more support abilities like defensive buffs, so with that in mind, she is easily going to go into A tier. And last, definitely not least, we have SSR Yoruichi. Yoruichi might be one of the flashiest characters in the game, which is expected of the Flash Master herself. But that flashiness also ties into her gameplay because this character wants to dodge attacks. Upon dodging attacks, it increases her damage output and allows for follow-up attacks. Every attack that you do use, your special attack, your skill technique, ultimate, counterattack, etc., of course, does build your spiritual pressure, where you're able to let off a special attack once more. That deals a lot of damage. Furthermore, her ultimate, once using that, does transform her, activating her Shunko mode for the first time, increasing your overall damage, and once more lets you get a free use of the special attack that she does have access to. Overall, a good DPS unit. Nothing super crazy, and it's more so due to the fact that she is in quite a weak attribute, as she is a strike type damage dealer, but right now she is the best strike type damage dealer that the game has access to. I think this character will get better over time the more supportive strike characters we do get, because like already mentioned, the character that she does have access to is Sajin and also Nemu, which really aren't the best support characters that Soul Resonance has access to. But she's a very fun unit, which I think is the most important factor for especially Yoruichi fans. But either way, that was my Bleach Soul Resonance tier list. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you show support by liking it. Make sure you subscribe because we are going to be uploading multiple videos on Soul Resonance when it does release later today. This game's going to be a lot of fun, so I hope you guys join me on this journey as we resonate our souls. I'm sorry.